The chamber fell silent before the warlord even entered. Thousands of lights dimmed across the massive diplomatic hall as armored alien soldiers slammed their staffs against the black steel floor in perfect synchronization. The sound echoed like thunder through the enormous structure suspended above the dead moon of Varnock Prime. Every delegate in attendance lowered their eyes. Some species physically trembled. Others whispered prayers in languages that had survived only because the warlord allowed them to survive. Ambassador Lra stood motionless near the center of the chamber, trying desperately to hide the nervous tension spreading through her body. Her silver-blue skin reflected the crimson emergency lights overhead, while dozens of political advisors avoided standing too close to her. Fear had become contagious in the galaxy. Nobody wanted to be associated with weakness when Cronith entered the room. Behind her stood the human. Elias Ward remained perfectly still beside the diplomatic platform, hands folded behind his back, expression unreadable beneath the shadows cast by the overhead lighting. He wore simple black tactical armor without medals or decorative symbols. Compared to the towering alien guards surrounding the chamber, he looked almost unimpressive. Smaller, quieter, human. Lra glanced toward him briefly. "You understand who is about to walk through those doors?" she asked softly. Elias nodded once. "The warlord Cronith," he replied calmly. The diplomat studied him carefully. No fear, no nervous movement, no visible tension. It unsettled her more than the soldiers outside the chamber. Entire civilizations feared Cronith. 12 star systems had fallen beneath his campaigns in less than a decade. He had personally executed planetary leaders during peace negotiations, and once destroyed an orbital colony simply to prove a political point. Stories about him spread through the galaxy like nightmares whispered between survivors, and yet the human bodyguard looked bored. The massive doors at the far end of the chamber finally began to open. A wave of heat rolled into the room first, then came the soldiers. Towering armored warriors marched into the chamber, carrying plasma halberds glowing bright orange beneath the dark ceiling. Their armor bore the red insignia of the Dominion fleet, the most feared military force in known space. Each soldier moved with perfect mechanical precision, and behind them walked Cronith. The warlord stood nearly 9 feet tall, his dark crimson armor covered in deep scars from battles spanning decades. One of his glowing amber eyes had been replaced by a cybernetic implant, pulsing faintly beneath layers of metal fused directly into his skull. The entire chamber lowered their heads as he approached. Everyone except the human, Cronith immediately noticed. The warlord stopped walking. Silence consumed the chamber. His burning mechanical eye focused directly on Elias. "You do not kneel," Cronith growled. Elias met his stare without hesitation. "I wasn't instructed to." A horrified whisper spread through the diplomats nearby. Several advisors physically backed away from the human. One alien senator nearly collapsed from panic. Lra felt her pulse spike instantly. Humans were new to interstellar politics. Most species still knew very little about them beyond scattered military reports and rumors from frontier worlds. They were classified as Deathworlders, but many assumed the classification had been exaggerated. Cronith slowly approached the platform. Heavy footsteps echoed through the chamber. "You stand before the ruler of the Dominion," the warlord said coldly. "Every species kneels." Elias remained calm. "Then maybe they shouldn't." The room froze. Even Cronith's guards looked stunned. For several seconds, nobody moved. The atmosphere itself felt dangerous, like the station might tear apart under the pressure building between them. Then the warlord laughed. The sound shook the chamber walls. "A human," Cronith said with amusement. "I expected something larger." A few nervous delegates joined the laughter. Elias didn't react. Cronith stepped closer until the massive alien towered directly over him. "You are either brave," the warlord whispered, "or too primitive to understand fear." The human finally smiled slightly. "On my world," Elias said quietly, "those are usually the same thing." The warlord's amusement faded. For the first time, Lra noticed something changing among the Dominion soldiers surrounding the chamber. Subtle movements, tiny shifts in posture. Their targeting systems had locked onto Elias without direct orders. The human noticed too. His eyes moved once across the room. Exits, weapons, distances, threat positions. Lra suddenly understood why humans made excellent soldiers. Elias wasn't simply standing there. He was calculating everything. Cronith turned toward the diplomat again. "You requested peace negotiations," the warlord announced loudly. "But peace requires leverage." He gestured toward the massive viewport overlooking the moon below. A Dominion battleship slowly emerged from the darkness outside. Lra's stomach tightened. "That colony beneath us," Cronith continued, "contains 4 million civilians loyal to your government." The chamber became deathly silent. "If these negotiations fail," the warlord said calmly, "they die." Several delegates gasped. Lra stepped forward immediately. "You promised diplomatic immunity. I promised a conversation." Cronith smiled cruelly. "And now we are having one." The diplomat tried desperately to control her breathing. This summit had been humanity's final attempt to prevent a full galactic war. Entire star systems were already collapsing from resource shortages and border conflicts. If Cronith destroyed the colony below, retaliation would ignite a conflict large enough to consume half the known galaxy. And the warlord knew it. He enjoyed it. Lra looked toward Elias again, hoping the human would remain silent this time. Instead, he spoke. "You threaten civilians during peace talks?" Elias asked quietly. Cronith turned slowly. "Yes," the human nodded once. "Coward, move!" The chamber erupted into chaos. Several diplomats shouted in panic while Dominion soldiers raised their weapons instantly. Plasma energy illuminated the dark chamber with violent orange light. Lra felt genuine terror for the first time since arriving, because Elias still looked calm. Too calm. Ed's expression darkened beneath the shadows cast across his armored face. "You dare insult me?" the warlord snarled. Elias tilted his head slightly. "You brought an army to threaten unarmed civilians," he replied. "Where I come from, that doesn't make you a conqueror." The human's eyes locked onto Cronith. "It makes you weak." One of the Dominion guards moved first. The towering alien lunged toward Elias with a plasma halberd crackling through the air fast enough to split reinforced steel. The diplomat screamed, but Elias moved faster. The human stepped sideways at the exact last second, grabbed the weapon shaft mid-swing, and drove his elbow directly into the alien soldier's throat joint, with enough force to collapse armor plating instantly. The guard crashed into the floor. Dead, silence returned for half a heartbeat. Then every weapon in the chamber activated simultaneously. Lra barely had time to react before Elias grabbed her and pulled her behind the diplomatic platform as plasma fire exploded across the chamber. Superheated energy tore through marble pillars and shattered transparent walls overlooking space. The summit had become a battlefield. Dominion soldiers charged from every direction. Elias drew a compact sidearm from beneath his armor and fired 3 controlled shots in rapid succession. Each round struck precise weak points between armored plates. 3 soldiers dropped instantly. The human moved with terrifying efficiency. Not rage, not panic, training. Years of brutal combat compressed into cold, perfect violence. Lra watched in shock as Elias slammed another soldier into a support column hard enough to crack reinforced metal. He disarmed a second attacker before the alien even realized its weapon had been taken. Every movement felt calculated, economical, predatory. The chamber descended into total chaos. Screaming diplomats ran for cover while plasma blasts illuminated the darkness like miniature suns. Explosions shook the station. Smoke filled the air. And through it all, the human kept moving forward, toward the warlord. Cronith finally drew his own weapon. A massive plasma blade ignited with blinding orange energy as the alien commander stepped through the battlefield directly toward Elias. His surviving guards spread outward, forming a defensive perimeter around their leader. "You think humans are warriors?" Eth roared. The station trembled beneath distant explosions. "I have slaughtered species older than your civilization." Elias slowly wiped blood from his mouth. "Maybe," he said quietly. The human took another step forward. "But you've never fought a species from Earth." The room fell silent again.